Hello and welcome to Nirmal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Mr. Rajesh, Bhatia, Group President and CFO at UFlex joining in. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bhatia, and a very good
Thank you.
afternoon. Pleasure having you as well. Everyone's been talking about as to what's been the negative impact of COVID that everyone has seen with regards to business. Uh, but one thing that we've noticed for UFlex is that in spite of all the challenges that COVID-19 has actually brought for industries, for economies as a whole, Q4 has been a good quarter. How did we really manage that?
So actually, Q4 is not impacted by COVID, sort of at all, because actually it happened only in the last 10 days of March. And, the whole idea at that point in time was because, India, we had a complete lockdown, nothing will operate.
Mm,
And then the government clarifications came that the continuous process and certain industries are allowed to operate, but things on the ground are actually very difficult to have because the local administration get involved. So the whole challenge was to get those approvals from the local authorities, get the permission passes issued for the people to come to office or the plant, and ensure that the logistics movement is seamless. So all these three were big sort of challenges, but I think led by our chairman, Mr. Chaturvedi, he led from the front during this time and ensured that we have these approvals well in time to continue running the plants. And the only time for the few days the plants were closed, not because of these administrative issues, but because of the supply chain issues where we were producing, and the offtake would simply not be there because either the trucks are not moving, or your customers are now deferring there because they are closed, so they are deferring there. But on the whole, good thing is that because we have so much of bandwidth that if even if we produce in India, and there are customers who not then ready to live, so we found new ways of exporting that material because abroad the requirement was very high, given that so far as I know, in Europe and UK in particular, in Europe and America, where we had the numbers, the food consumption was up about 25-26%, and which means that they require more packaging. So the entire supply chain, the warehousing, and the shelf space in the malls or in the superstores are getting converted into people storing more food at home, so that they have to make less trips to buy these much more frequently. So people were actually sort of starting to get more food at home, eat more at home, and that actually sort of really helped the things going. Yes, there were people who got affected because they could not arrange those requisite permissions and transport permits and employee permits to be there. But for us, it was very minimal. Demand, of course, continued to be very high during this period, and you witness that more in the current quarter, where we've seen a huge increase in the order book, as well as for the production and the dispatches during the current quarter. So I think COVID for us so far has been bringing only incremental revenues, production and dispatches, with more customer demand actually waiting to be serviced. So hopefully this thing sort of helps our business grow. We've also last couple of years announced some new expansion programs, which are now in this financial year will come into operations, and hopefully the increased demand for the food and pharma sectors will help us achieve higher capacity utilizations even along even in these new facilities, much earlier than what we would have otherwise envisaged.
Right. So, Mr. Bhatia, one thing that we notice is even, a good improvement that has come in on the margin front, on the profitability front. However, we've seen a slight decline that has come in on the top line. So, is it mainly, fall in raw material prices which has aided the margins and the profitability?
Uh, I think two factors. A very large factor is the crude price fall, and our products are heavily linked to that. Typically, I can tell you that about our 60% of our cost is of our selling price is attributable to these raw materials which are crude linked. And if we see FY20 over FY19, we've seen that for the year as a whole, the average crude prices have fallen by about 13% in FY20. Yes, a very large part of that happened towards the end of the June after first week of March. When the decline was very rapid, but on the whole, yes, there was decline in the prices. And if I see, even for us, the raw material prices, the two typical raw material, which is the bright chips for the BOPET production and the homopolymer for the BOPP, the prices have the raw material purchase price for us has been lower by about 12 to 20% across different plants. While because the capacity utilization in the BOPET and the BOPP both improved, so obviously all that costs were not passed on because of the demand being robust. So that led to a margin improvement. The other reason for us to have a lower sales of about 300 to 350 crores, that in June last year we started to shift one of our Dubai facility to Russia.
Russia, correct.
And we produce about 2,500 tons in that facility on a monthly basis. So there was about 24,000 tons of production loss, which is valued at about 350 crores. But other than these two factors, that is what has led to the fall in the revenue.
Right. So, Mr. Bhatia, with regards to the shifting of the BOPET line from Dubai to Russia, I think we were looking to commission it in the second quarter of FY21. Taking the current global situation into consideration, do you think that will be on track?
So actually, we did a great job over there that, in terms of the fact that, that line when the lockdown started to happen, and in Russia, actually, during those times, about 11,000 cases were coming per day. So Russia also enforced lockdown. But, I'm happy to inform that even during this lockdown period, we continued to operate over there. We continued to have, people from our other facilities who were just sent in time to ensure that, the things, the construction and the commissioning get seamless implemented. But there were some delays. Happy to inform that we started trial production there in Q1 itself, and we are on course to achieve commissioning in Q2 of the current year.
Right. And overall, with regards to FY21 production, Mr. Bhatia, any industry that we've been talking to right now is of the opinion that our aim is to break even, if not make profitability, and this is across sectors. However, when we talk about a company industry like yours, what's happening is the household demand is increasing right now because people are not really moving out. So, do you think this is a blessing in disguise that has come in and a good opportunity that has come in for a company like yours during COVID?
So I think yes, it's helping a bit, but I think we'll have to see after the Q1 as to how the things really work out, because end of the day, the consumer demand is what is driving our business right now. What we see interaction with all our customers, that in some of the health and hygiene product categories, their requirements are today minimum 3x of what they were buying
Okay.
pre-COVID. So that's one segment clearly which is there. The food segment, the rice packaging and some of the other, the noodles packaging and all that is also increased as people tend to consume more in the small packs at home, and rather than the restaurants which always go in for the large packs businesses. So overall, because there are more people confined to the homes and consuming a lot more, either snacking or the food at home. So the demand as of now, and then the development of the new category, which is health and hygiene, which is like packaging, which is more a value-added business also, because here we talking about not a soft roll kind of a packaging, but a pouches in which you will have the hand sanitizers and the liquid soaps category. So all these products today, so much so that we even had to look at doing some immediate capex to meet the higher customer demand in the current quarter itself. So I think generally we seeing whatever is the trial production we doing in Poland or in Russia in the current in the Q1, that's been absorbed, sort of immediately. And definitely in the Q1 of the current financial year, we will see much, much, much better numbers. I don't want to, say that COVID for us is a blessing in disguise, but and overall, humanity suffering is, and you are doing good, is not a right way to sort of look at things also. But yes, you know there are customer segments which are highly in demand, and we continue to do our best in terms of ensuring that those supplies are continuing.
Right. And and taking this into consideration, the other point, Rajesh, Mr. Bhatia, we're picking up right now is the demand has been picking up a lot with regards to rural markets, with regards to tier two, tier three cities right now versus the urban population. So are we seeing an uptick with regards to smaller size in terms of packaging, which is picking up, or is it the large packs where you're seeing the demand pick up?
So I think we are seeing that we can't actually differentiate between what's going into rural and what's going into this. But yes, as I said that the food category, particularly rice, has been much in demand for the last 2 or 3 months or so, where probably as people want to have small packs of 5 kgs or 1 kg, so they are more in demand. Similarly, on the hand sanitizers and the soaps, so there are products which are like 250 ml to 750 ml, which are largely in demand. But for us to know what is the demand going to the rural and what is to the tier two, tier three cities and all that, like products like if all of us are washing their hands uh, at least 3 times more in a day, which means that we're using more soap. If we are sanitizing our hands 6 times a day, which means that you have a new product category which needs to be packed and delivered to the end customer. So I think the demand would rather come from these segments. For the other segments, things will stabilize a bit over a period of time, and it's only that people will find it difficult to go and eat out, dine out, and all that. So to that extent, home consumption is the key today, and that's what we know, and that's what is indicated in our off takes also. Correct.
Right. So overall, with this, if you could just help us understand what were the kind of challenges and disruptions that you faced during COVID, especially on the supply side as well as on the labor front.
I think supply side, we got our approvals from the district authorities well within the time frame. We apprehended this, and the government of India also issued the necessary notification well in time to declare that the packaging is an essential commodity. But some of the businesses had closed down their factories by that time, and so the problems that they faced was that once you close down everything on 21st, when there was a national curfew, and almost all the states only extended that, though the national lockdown was announced from 25th, but 22nd actually was the Janta curfew, and then it just got extended. So a lot many people stopped operating at that point in time only, and their workforce actually started to get disintegrate and move to their hometowns and all that, because they thought that ultimately they need to go back to their because if the factories are not working, businesses are not working, so they were more comfortable in being at their home places rather than getting skewed in small setups in the large cities. But because we never closed that down, so people were available. It was only a question of time that we how do we arrange passes for them so that they will not be stopped on the way to the factory or from the factory on the way to home, which were also organized uh, you know immediately. But I think the main challenge that we actually faced was that when the truck driver could not reach the truck, because he had no passes. Later, initially, people thought that the movement is allowed only for the essential goods till the
Mhm.
time the government notifications repeatedly said that no, the movement is not only for the essential goods; it's also for the non-essential goods. So it took some time for the message to get communicated on the ground. But in the meanwhile, what they will do is just ask the truck to stop, call up the
Correct.
driver and the cleaner, and they'll run away. And there have been instances even for us, and I know more for the other businesses, where the trucks were lying unattended for many days just because the local authorities, the police and all that would just haul up the truck driver and the cleaner, and they'll simply run away, leaving the truck behind. So this actually was there for about prevailed for about 7 to 10 days time, and thereafter the things started to get normalized, as and the government did really a good job in terms of giving the repeated messages to the authorities that the truck movement should not be stopped. But largely these were the challenges. Overseas there was no challenge because the business was never asked to stop.
Correct.
So people were coming. Yes, there were certain restrictions and all that, but it was business as normal for everybody else.
Right. So with these challenges, did it lead to any rise in operational costs?
Yes, it did. It did, particularly on the transportation side. There were issues like today, the transportation, people expect uh, that, they will get a return cargo. So obviously, if they're not getting their return cargo, they need to increase their prices. If they are finding short on drivers and the other maintenance stuff, so obviously they need to pay them more, and there are people who are willing to take that risk for an extra money. Or even generally also, at this time when know that there is more need for this service, people do tend to charge a bit extra. So yes, it did affect us. Even in Europe and other countries also, it did affect us in terms of our cost of transportation, uh, but uh, uh, I think overall, I would still say that, even despite all these costs, we still were able to net a higher margin in the Q1.
Right. And Mr. Bhatia, with regards to the post-consumer PET bottle and multi-layer plastic waste washing and recycling line that has opened in Noida, at what capacity are we functioning on that front? And what's the kind of growth that is expected on that side?
See, that particular business in India currently, there's no money to be made over there currently, given the, the present prices for the crude and all that. But it is more of a showcase to the government that, there are ways and means to, address the plastic menace, whatever
Mm,
you
mm,
say. So if we are able to make even the PET films using the old PET bottles, recycling them and all that, so things are not actually so bad from an environment perspective on the plastics, because and if you implement the right policies,
mm,
rather than just doing some theoretical things. Yes, there can be sort of opportunities for the businesses to convert all the waste into a meaningful product. In some of our locations where we are likely to set this up, particularly in Europe as well as in USA,
mm.
we continue to get premium for these products because our customers are willing to pay a premium for a recycled sort of product
Right.
at
And
a price of
mm,
55 to $60 to crude. Yes, even otherwise, as compared to a virgin raw material cost, uh, you will make money in this also. But currently we are taking it up uh, only to showcase to the government that you need to look at some of these things very
correct.
holistically before you decide to take any drastic actions on the pricing on this. So we are doing plastic bottles recycling. We are doing the existing multi-layered plastic also. We recycling that and making into converting into small granules which can be used and mix in a very large quantities to make the various plastic products,
Mm,
including plastic furniture or other products, the desktops, the cases, and anything where you use plastic, so you can mix it up and actually use this, sort of
right.
old packaging and all that. And then finally, our product on the plastic biodegradable, making the plastic biodegradable. We probably the only company which has that, but we will need a lot of government supports to sort of make it actually a commercial out of it. As of now, all these endeavors are to sort of showcase it to the government that look, don't think that there's plastic is only bad. Yes, if you promote the right policies, if you give the right incentives,
Mm,
there are ways to do that. And we are also likely to set up some facilities at the government owned locations also, not ourselves, but we bringing it at an association level, so that everybody gets to participate in this, and the government then gets to see that there are ways to treat the plastic waste. So I think next it's got a bit delayed because of all this COVID. Otherwise, by the end of the year, even those facilities we would have been up and running.
right. So with this, do you think there will be a shift in terms of in the packaging sector in terms of what happens? Do you think there's a possibility where sterile, probably antimicrobial packaging solutions could be on the forefront post-COVID, taking the kind of precautions that people are looking at?
I think those things are still in a development phase, but yes, antimicrobial packaging would take away fears from the people's mind that if they touch this, whether they get infected or not. So I think those things everybody is sort of including us are trying to get into the products into that, and let's see how does the developments happen on that. End of the day, you have to also appreciate that if the COVID is a very short-term phenomenon, then beyond a point, then some of these investments will actually not be required because the customer will not be ready to pay a price for some of these additional features in your packaging. But biodegradability and recycling will remain the flavor for sure.
Right. And with regards to international business as well, right now around almost 45 to 48% is the contribution that we're seeing in terms of global markets. By how much do you think we will be able to increase the contribution of global sales in our business in FY21? And are you expecting, global expansion to be faster versus domestic right now?
So I think globally our expansion was actually due for a very long time because we were actually operating at a much higher capacity utilization. Typically, when you're close to about 80% capacity utilization levels, you'll start planning because by the time you reach about 95% or so, your next plant is up and running. But for us, we took a few years in between to consolidate our position and then embark upon these expansions. And clearly, we are seeing that the customer preference over the years is now to buy locally. It helps him immensely because his working capital investment in the business is much less, as he need not order the product 90 days in advance and invest large sums in large size orders and all that. He can order almost twice or thrice a week also if we are locally available. And secondly, for him, it is also a huge variation in the prices also because somebody buying in America would actually order a product at least 90 days ahead of its requirement. So a 90 days period, if the crude is 40 and it becomes 20 by the time it reaches him, so he actually loses out, and vice versa. So so the volatility at his ends in terms of the price management becomes extremely high. And now with the COVID and a lot of issues coming on the trade side and all that, I think our new capacities coming overseas will actually help us to grow the markets locally, and that they will. And some of these markets, like typically Europe and US, are not really the market expansion is not there in a big way. It's a small expansion, unlike India, where we find that 8 to 10% growth. All these mature markets give you between let's say 1.5 to. So there you will have to look at substitutions and substitution with the imports. Today also Europe imports about 14,000 tons of PET films. Europe, sorry, UK or US also imports a lot of stuff. It is more of offering the localized solutions as compared to this. Yes, when you will start this, because some of the destinations from which these products are coming are cheap cost destinations as compared to producing them in Europe or US. But I think over a period, that gets synced in, and people
Right.
want to purchase now more locally, because otherwise, their own businesses may get disrupted also.
Right. And with this, you also ventured out with regards to manufacturing of PPE kits in the domestic market. Is that a business proposition that you're going to continue? And if yes, what's the revenue contribution you're expecting in this year?
So I think we have, so that is more like an, whatever, if there is an opportunity there, and how can we make the most, sort of out of it. Having understood that, we also realize that, anything conventional, the way it is being done, is not going to work. So IT helped us develop this special coating which makes this film, which coating makes this more breathable as compared to the other kits, and also ensures that there are no this is give you much more protection, because for us what we've done is it is a three-layer protection. So you can't have people who are wearing it can't get infected. But I think that is a business where we are not invested, anything much. And for things like some stitching and fabric right now and all that, it can all be outsourced, though we have some small capacities. So depending on as to and customer is a very large subset of the customer today is the government, which does through various tender processes, etc., and all that. So I think let's see as to how does this business goes. Good thing is now that export is also opened a bit, so at least you can manufacture and export also. Next couple of months will give us more clarity as to what we are able to.
Right, but any numbers that you have worked out, Mr.
I
Bhatia?
would assume about 300 crores annualized
So that
basis.
approximately works out to be say around 4 to 5% of the total revenue contribution could come from
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Yeah. And very lastly, with regards to FY21 as a year, can we assume a growth of say around 15 to 20% on the top line and a volume growth upwards of 15%? That could be a target that probably could be achievable.
I think in the packaging space, we'll definitely look at 7 to 8% growth. In the packaging film space, it will all depend upon as to when do we commission our projects. So the timeline to commissioning will actually sort of determine that. So I think I'll not be able to answer that today for you, but wherever we know that the things are stabilized, that's the way. But yes, we are adding up substantial capacity overseas, which will actually increase the contribution, the revenue, and the profitability contribution as we go forward, and so the things will swing both the revenues and profitability more in terms of the offshore businesses. And obviously, it makes sense there because the cost of funds is actually very, very low in some of these jurisdictions, and you are the quality, the manpower, the whole environment, and everything else is facility. And we are already there. That's the best part about this. That we have experience of Middle East, we have experience of Europe, we have experience of South Americas and North America. So we've been there, except for Southeast Asia, we're not there, but we're there in all these locations.
Right. I think everyone's hoping that things work out really well for all. But thank you so much, Mr. Bhatia, for joining us on the show. It was a pleasure having you here. Great insights that we picked up. I hope you enjoyed the show as well, and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.